One has to wonder when you're dealing with certain people in your circles and they're so angry that they've become blinded and can't see clearly about anything. What do you do when you know a chaos merchant?
The Voices of Victory podcast show.
Voices of Victory.
Vision.
Voices of Victory.
Leadership.
Voices of Victory.
Workplace-related topics.
The Voices of Victory.
Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory.
It's time for the show. You are now listening to the Voices of Victory podcast show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario D. Leone.
Hello and welcome to the Voices of Victory podcast show. I'm your host, Mario D. Leone, and we're going to go ahead and talk. We're going to talk today. We're going to have a nice heart-to-heart talk because it's been a while. It's been a while. We live in a time where chaos and attention span have become a currency. And there are people out there on social media that hook their minds willingly or unwillingly into rage bait. Rage bait could be understood as people just putting out certain videos and certain topics in order to create rage because they know that creating that internal anger and rage not only provokes their channel even more, but creates that addiction to outrage. And there's people that are addicted to that. They're always angry. They're always reacting. They're always stirring shit up. And the hard part, though, is that some of these people are not even consciously aware of that. What do I mean by that? It means they go through life completely unaware of their own behavior. It's kind of like being in the dark about your behavior, how you're speaking, what you're doing. It's like completely unaware of your identity, unaware of who you are, unaware of what you're doing, unaware of the anger that you're just digesting by the amount of shit that's out there. And that's what I call the chaos merchants, and that's what this show is all about. This is all about the chaos merchants, which we're going to discuss. And I want to start off by saying outright, you're going to meet these chaos merchants. Think of the two words, right? Chaos is just absolute craziness, addicted to the infestation of just nonsense of the world. And a merchant is someone who sells that, right? So that's where chaos merchant kind of derives from those two words. So never engage with these people. Don't engage with them, especially if they're acting like an emotional toddler who just likes to cause trouble because they like to cause trouble. Or you know what they're watching on social media and they're just addicted to outrage and they're just sticking their head in that all the time. So if they need drama to survive, to breathe or to live, leave them swallowing it or choking in it. Really. Just let go. Move on. Don't engage. Don't engage. Because chaos merchants, they thrive on conflict. They thrive on confusion. They thrive on causing division, causing trouble, causing argument, causing rage bait. And they rarely stop to ask whether their words or actions will actually help anyone or if they themselves actually truly understand themselves and understand because they're not aware. They don't have any awareness. You got to think about it this way. There's people that have like a really bad habit that are aware of it and actually able to do something. And then there's people that are unaware. They're constantly getting triggered. Their nervous system's getting triggered all the time, and they're completely unaware of it. They don't even know because they've run on autopilot for so damn long. They don't have a clue. And it's not your job to wake them up and say, hey, look, what are you doing over here? Because you know what? They've become an emotional toddler. Leave them drowning in that drama. Okay? If they need to breathe from that drama, that craziness, leave them completely starving. That's going to be the most important thing, because here's what I want to share with you. The loudest voices that are out there, they're not the wisest ones. They're just the most reactive, and they've gotten so used to reacting that their own nervous system is completely unaware of their own behavior. That's the difference, being aware of your behavior and being completely unaware. Okay? So that's a major problem. The constant noise and craziness for them, it just makes it harder for anything thoughtful, any type of real progress. They jam their head in the news. They jam their head in all the aggravation, the anger. You got to understand that there's, from a cyber psychology point of view, you have the regular news, which is there to inform. And even nowadays, it's there to inform, but it actually inform with bias. Like, that's the way it goes. Okay? And it all depends on what station you're watching nowadays, because it's all about that bias, right? But then comes social media, which takes the regular media, distorts and amplifies it, and makes things worse. Perpetuate misinformation, you name it. It's there. It's all there. I just want to be clear. I'm not talking about the troublemakers in a positive sense, like Steve Jobs, or the kind of troublemaker who challenges broken systems, who pushes boundaries back, who forces the world to actually think differently. There's a kind of disruption that actually creates innovation and value. The kind of discomfort that leads to growth. What I'm talking about is entirely different. I'm talking about the people who don't have a regulated nervous system. The people who make life more difficult for everyone around them. Not because they're some bold visionary, but because they're careless, reactive, clueless, and emotionally driven, and have no concept. Those are the chaos merchants. They don't even realize what they're doing. They think they're, quote unquote, telling it like it is, or quote unquote, I'm standing my ground. When in reality, they're just spreading more anger, more frustration, and more fucking nonsensical bullshit. They react before they reflect, and they're not even aware of it. They criticize without even trying to understand. How can they? They're putting their head in certain ideas that just fuel more outrage. So they feel like they can't live unless their nervous system is in that perpetuated state of drama. That's a chaos merchant. And instead of building solutions, they pile on more problems, and they wonder, why is my life so bad? And their actions feel justified in that moment, but over time, they drain other energy from other people. They damage trust. They don't know how to trust. Nervous system's in overdrive all the time. And it's slow progress for everyone around them. So what makes this dangerous is how normalized it's become for them. They don't even see it. The outrage for them, it gets clicks. They know that. The anger gets attention, like an emotional toddler. The conflict gets totally amplified, and people start believing that being loud is the same thing as being right. And being disruptive is the same thing as being effective. But you know what? Real leadership doesn't operate that way. This is the voices of victory. And real leaders bring clarity, not confusion. They create momentum, not friction, not craziness. They understand that how you show up matters just as much as what you say. And most of all, they're followers. And that's the thing. There are leaders in this world and there are followers in this world. And some people are so busy following that they're following the outrage and not even aware that they are. And they like more of it. They want to feed it. And the progress doesn't come from just reaction all the time and keeping your nervous system in overdrive all the time. It comes from intentional action. It comes from people who take responsibility for their impact, for their life, not just their intentions. The world doesn't need more people tearing shit down without a plan, only to destroy everything around them in hopes that they try to make it better. But what they actually do is wind up destroying the world because they just simply don't know how to build. And the world doesn't need more people tearing things down. We have to build something that's better. It needs individuals who can challenge ideas without attacking other people, wanting to hurt other people. The people who can push for change without trying to poison the entire environment around them and poison everything around them. So this is the line I want to draw. We can be bold without actually being destructive and reckless. And we can be disruptive without constantly trying to destroy everything around us. We can reject the chaos merchants that are out there without becoming cynical and getting addicted to their outrage, to listen to the emotional toddler that throws their stuff to the wind. Because the goal isn't to win arguments all the time. You got to remember, arguments are there for clarity. Really, they're for clarity. You want to be able to see things clearly, help others see things clearly, and you're not always going to be able to do that. You got to consider when you're engaging with somebody on social media, you got to know that purpose and be clear about it. Are you going to educate? Are you going to share some kind of insight with them? Because if the purpose is just to be vague and just debate only for your ego, then you completely water down your own authority. It's one thing to assume good faith, but it's another thing to actually verify. People are going to comment and say negative, nasty crap and throw all kinds of stuff around. And unless proven otherwise, ask for clarity. Ask a clarifying question before you decide to react all the time. Not the chaos merchant. They react first thing. They don't respond. They don't have emotional intelligence. That's the thing. Attention is currency. If you're giving your attention, then you're giving your currency. Don't engage with people that are just constantly addicted to outrage and inflammatory all the time. Because you're just going to reward their disruption, reward their lack of credibility, reward their time. It wastes everybody's time. You got to remember, when you are going to debate with someone, you got to ask yourself, like, is this a debate that you actually want to engage in? Because when you give currency, you give attention, you give currency to them. You give credence. It's like, why am I engaging in this? Is this going to add value to my life, or is this going to somehow just defend my ego and make me feel good? If you're going to enter the conversation, it should help you understand something, or maybe add value to your world and add value to theirs. But the chaos merchant doesn't do that. They don't do that. They're cynical on everything. There is no hope because they can't see it. They've become conditioned otherwise. And the goal isn't to win arguments all the time. It's to create outcomes that actually matter in life, to make your life better. That's the kind of voice that's worth amplifying. And that's the kind of victory that actually lasts. And that's all I'm going to say on this episode. You can hear it in my voice, how strong I feel about everything I've just said. Don't feed, not the troll. Don't feed the chaos merchant. Take care. Have a good day.